Forget everything that Hollywood has poisoned your brain with over the years through movies and paranormal investigation shows, the spooky music and the creepy settings. Forget it. All you need to know moving forward is the paranormal truth. If your interest in the paranormal is honest and pure, you have to look past advertising giants, ratings, and the almighty dollar. Do you want to know what paranormal investigations are really about? Look no further than Rise Up Paranormal.
Rise Up is a paranormal investigation group. We're based out of Rhode Island, and Rise Up is the acronym for the Rhode Island Society for the Examination of Unusual Phenomena. I think our approach is probably a little bit more distinctive because rather than doing this mandate where you arrive as a skeptic, we tend to not be skeptics or believers. We try to stay right down the middle so our results don't show any bias. So what we try to be is objective observers of potential phenomenon rather than go in trying to debunk or trying to prove the existence. We kind of like to stay in the middle on that.
Ken DaCosta has been investigating the paranormal since 1975. Listen to his words, learn from him, for he is not a highly paid reality TV star. He's in the game of paranormal research for the truth and, quite frankly, the fun of it.
264-foot depth cameras, those are the white ones. Put them on 2, 3. At this end, I think you've got power pointing down there. Stands, I don't know if Julie has tripods. We'll take cords with it. I brought all the cords we have because I know we're going to have to put some together, so I have the couplers for that. What I'm thinking is put those 2 up there, another big one. Got 4, possibly 5 power packs. 2, 3, 4, and 1 downstairs closer to the tunnel.
I met up with Ken a few years ago when I produced the documentary, The Reality of Ghosts. It was fitting to meet him at a paranormal convention. I've always thought that in most fields, there are quacks and non-quacks. However, when it comes to paranormal investigating, there are too few non-quacks. So having to weed through groups upon groups to find Rise Up and Ken DaCosta was time-consuming, but also very much worth it. Reputations of groups come from several places: the team as a whole, its individual members, and most importantly, its leaders. Rise Up has all those bases covered, especially when it comes to leader.
Ken DaCosta and Rise Up, very well established, very well known throughout the whole New England area with being able to help people out and assist people and be involved with things.
There is no finer investigative group in this country. He is a seasoned professional. He is deeply immersed in everything to do with paranormal activity. One of the most intellectual, one of the most articulate people I have ever met. I would move heaven and earth to make anything that he does fly to the moon, because I have the utmost confidence in him in terms of not only his intellect, but his heart. He's in this for all the right reasons.
That's right. Rise Up has the backing of authors and experts like John Zaffis and Andrea Perrone. It's these kind of people that help separate the pretenders and offenders from the true and honest.
There are some good shows and there are some bad shows. You know, some of the shows are scripted, so that kind of puts a bad taste in the public's eye, because they're like, well, how do we know if this paranormal stuff is legit? Because now you have this Hollywood ghost show going on and you have this reality TV show going on. But it's not going to be until those shows are kind of like phased out and people get more serious, because I think awareness is out there and people really want to know what it is that they hear or see or feel, or maybe in their homes.
Really irritates us when we come from a legitimate show, when people say that everything you did was fake, because we were there. We had made an agreement between the first original 6 investigators from Ghost Hunters International. Nobody does anything stupid. The last thing we wanted to do was put our necks on the line and fake any evidence or do anything that would resemble faking evidence. That is our reputation, that is our name, and we just did the best we could. I mean, there were a lot of episodes that were flat as a board. I mean, there was no activity. We didn't make any activity up. I mean, things have come a long way. There's 20,000 other paranormal shows after Ghost Hunters aired on Sci-Fi. Some of them were great to watch. Some of them have been silly. The ghost hunting industry is more popular than ever. Everyone's fascinated. Everyone's more open-minded, which is great. But the people that are truly passionate about the field can easily be spotted amongst the crowd of people that are doing it just for a popularity contest or to try to land themselves on TV.
So why is it important to have that support? To the paranormal community, there's a dirty word out there that I have to use. So cover the ears of the little ones, because I'm about to drop the S word: skeptics.
I don't think you can convince a hardcore skeptic. If you're a skeptic, you're going to be a dead skeptic until something happens to you. And it's not going to be until that time that something happens to them that they can't explain or wrap their head around that they're going to know until it happens to them.
It's society in a whole. People don't like change. People don't want to know certain things. You have to remember, the more we dig into the paranormal realm, because there's thousands of us out there doing it today, and if we could find certain answers that might be a conflict to something that's already established, especially from your religious community, that can cause a lot of issues. So therefore, you're going to have people that are really going to, not believe this. A lot of times people will say to me also, I've never seen anything, never experienced anything, and I go, be glad you haven't. Again, you have to look at these things from many different perspectives and levels, and when people, do try to debunk something or try to find out, okay, no, this happened this way or anything, and if you can prove that out, that's okay, that's fine. Again, things happen. But there are those things, those photographs, the footage, EVPs, and those things out there we can't debunk.
What do you want to be able to say to the skeptics?
Thank you. Thank you for being the driving force behind our forward momentum, because we in the paranormal community are so anxious to shut you up that's what keeps us going after that one piece of irrefutable evidence that will silence you forever.
Had enough talk? Me too. How about we let Rise Up Paranormal's investigations speak for themselves? This is the Pain House. You could call it the unofficial home base of Rise Up. If you watched The Reality of Ghosts, you'll recognize it. In fact, Rise Up has done many investigations here. Why? This is what you could call a hotbed of activity. They have found some very interesting pieces of evidence here in the past.
Probably the most profound thing I've ever experienced was a full-bodied apparition, because these are things that we get calls on. I saw this, I witnessed this. But to this point, you see things like shadows moving around, and you're not sure if it's out of your peripheral or not. But witnessing that is probably the one thing that'll stay with me, because even as many years as I've put in it, when that actually happened, that was the hello moment where it's like, wow, this is something. Now, I'm not looking for this. I'm not trying to create anything in my own mind. I was in a good frame of mind as not a believer, not as a non-believer, and this thing happens to me where I saw a small child just literally float across the hallway at a place called the Pain House in Coventry, Rhode Island. That was remarkable to me. A lot of people who say they have these experiences, they go around high-fiving each other, thinking this is a great experience. Believe me, it was not so much frightening as to me. It was like really unnerving, disturbing, and you look and internalize it like, why me? Why am I seeing this right now? Is this being presented to me? But it was as real as, you sitting there right now. So that was amazing.
The experiences that people and investigators have had in the Pain House run from EVPs to shadows and being touched. In fact, it seems that many citizens of Coventry have a story to tell when it comes to the Payne House.
Two ladies who live locally. They don't really know each other. They happened to be coming by one day, asked about what we were doing here. So one of them says, well, I walk my kid to school in the morning. We cut across the yard so we don't get into the busy intersection. He says, I've gone past here in the morning, points out this window from outside and says, I see this. Okay, it's interesting. A few months go by, different woman comes by, same deal. Like, what are you guys doing? Oh, investigating the house. She says, I gotta tell you, I walk my dog out here. A lot of times, cut across the yard again, points out the same window and says, I see this. So, months apart, people saying the same thing. That's the good stuff when you get that independent corroboration of things. I think in this house, there's a combination of a couple of things. We always talk about categorizing these things. We love to categorize things. Is it intelligent? Can it interact with you? Is it just something that you're seeing like a time slip from another time? There are things in this house I think suggest both. What we call intelligent residual, whatever you want to label it. Because I think that we've seen and heard things that are kind of not really intended for us. They're just something that stays here, whether they're footsteps or knocks or sometimes even seeing apparitions, which has happened on occasion. It's happened to me. And there are other times where you get a direct response back. So it's kind of like two different things at play here, which really kind of makes it the challenge.
The first challenge of the night was up in the attic area. While every investigation is about making contact, the specific interest here was trying to get responses from spirits by using the REM pod.
What I want to try to do is take tri-field, set it to radio frequency, and put that somewhere in the vicinity of where these meters are, because if these things, if people say they light up when they've been asking questions up here, I want to see what's triggering them. So, due north, and we'll see if those go on. Same thing with this K2 meter. They say it lights up. I want to see if we can ask questions
Put one somewhere else.
and what lights it up and why it's lit up. I will tell you that as far as this whole EMF thing up here, we're at a 1, so it's kind of hot up here. I mean, there's something pulsing through, so that's just normal. The only other thing is that we want to make sure that whatever equipment we're using, we're far enough away that whatever the natural fields are here, or I should say the man-made fields are here, it doesn't mess with our equipment too much. Because it will mess up cameras and it will mess up digital recorders and things like that. Check temperature, relative humidity up here. Looks like we're at 64.6. That's not bad. It's pretty chilly outside. That's good up here. So it's 64, pretty comfortable. Almost makes me sorry I'm wearing the coat. Relative humidity is 45%. So that's fairly dry. So being fairly dry, there's a real good chance that if we kick up anything, there's going to be dust on cameras and stuff like that. Shadow activity back here, people have talked about in the room that we're not going to go into because the floor is unstable. Shadow activity in this room, supposedly we can somehow interact with spirits with these things that we have on the floor, your typical stuff, K2 meters, REM pods. I want to see if that actually works and what could trigger them. Alright, this is an observation EVP session. We are at the Payne House Museum in Coventry, Rhode Island. And we are upstairs right now in the attic area where there have been claims of shadow activity, physical contact, interaction with devices that seemed, according to the reports, to indicate intelligence. So we're going to put that to the test tonight here. I'm up here with Julie and Vin. And we have a series of motion sensors downstairs leading up to this room. So we'll make sure we're absolutely alone and nobody breaches the perimeter of where we are right now.
Ken goes on to announce that if there are any spirits around with any messages to give, now would be the time. He also encourages them to move objects, make noises, or anything else that would let Rise Up know of their presence. He also does it in a very respectful manner.
Because this is the third floor, usually whoever helped around the house, whether they were to cook or clean, work the fields, typically this would be the living quarters of the help for the home. I'm going to ask anyone here who can hear me if this was the case with you. Were you part of the help here? Were you employed at the house? We're getting a bleep on that REM pod. No cell phones here, right? No. Okay. Was this your living quarters? Is this where you stayed? If you were employed by the people who owned this house at the time. Pick up a lot of the traffic, amplified here. What I noticed about that a lot of times is when a car passes, as you get that sound where it kind of and fades out, goes away. More often than not, a lot of times you think that you hear a voice in that sound. It builds up like it is now, car going by, and then as it passes, so many times you get recordings and it almost sounds like there's something in it.
Yep. We are getting a little fluctuation on the millimeter though.
What do we got?
It's going up slightly to 5, dropping back down to 4.
Old house, not sure about the shield and the wiring, but it's in the ceiling. Just come in, move about the room. You're among friends here. That was a good spike. Okay, so I'm going to ask the question then. Our little device, our little gadget on the floor with the different colored lights that just came on, if you triggered that, if you made those lights come on, I just want to ask you to do it again for me, if you don't mind. Okay, we want to see if it's really possible to communicate with you through those devices that we brought. So I'd like you to come over with us here in the center of the room, because we want to give you the opportunity before we leave the home to say goodbye. Is there anything you'd like to say to us before we do that? Do you still have memories and feelings about your time here on Earth? Do you remember what it was like to have a house full of people or have family during the holidays? I'm curious, can you see us right now? Can you see everything that we're doing and everyone in this room? Do you get a sense of where we are? I don't know if you realize it, but this home is a very, very important place in this entire town. What we want to do is learn more about it. So we need to learn as much as we can about the people who are here. Mark audio.
Although the REM pod went off several times, there was nothing that really made the group believe there was much to it in terms of paranormal activity. After a long session in the attic, Ken, Vin, and Julia headed down to the second floor. This wasn't as much of an EVP session as it was to just walk around, get the feel for the area, and listen.
I guess some people believe that it's possible for energy to attach to an object. Then, to me, this would be the room with the Civil War artifacts in it. Most of this stuff was used in battle. Everything from swords to long rifles to Confederate money in this room. If you think about it, nothing holds energy more than money. Just exchanges hands all the time.
There is a blinking light in this hallway, Vin, but I think it's the smoke detector.
Oh, yeah.
It's a white blinking light.
This traffic's brutal on audio.
I really need to know that you're here. Is your photograph on these walls somewhere? What's the remembrance of you in this room?
Later on in the evening, while sitting in one of the rooms alone, Vin got the sense of the cable moving in front of him. Unfortunately, our camera didn't catch it.
Something went like this, like by it.
Really?
And I try not to move at all. So I don't know if she was in here and ran past me. The meeting wasn't on at the time, that's why I kicked that on, put it on the floor. In case she comes back through.
This is a room I haven't been in for a long time. Now, there's supposed to be a man here, and he's kind of cranky. Doesn't like women in the room. If you can hear me, if you're aware of us here, you know there's women in the room. If you think they should leave, let us know. Do something. By something, I mean make a noise, make a sound in here. So there's no doubt it's you. Should we ask the women to leave? I know I'm trying my best here. You're going to have to meet me halfway. I can't make you do anything. I'm really not going to try. I'm just hoping that I can convince you that we're looking for information. Learn more about the house, learn more about the people that were here. I think I hear footsteps on the third floor. Hear that? No, I got nothing. Left one of your bears over here. Does that bother you? Are you upset that we moved it? We just wanted to see you play with it, honey.
Go ahead, grab the bear.
Okay, you can take that whenever you want to. We don't have to be looking. You don't have to be shy. If you're shy, we'll go away. But we left it there for you to play with. Okay? If you want to take it, you can just take it. It's your bear. And you can put it wherever you want to. So you can play with it, but we'll put it back when we're done.
Then from the second floor, rise up, move down to the first floor of the Payne house.
If you want to ask the questions, I got the headphones on. I don't mind marking the audio. I think I'm all questioned out at this point.
No one's gonna be here for a few months, so now's the time to make yourself present. If you can't leave this place, would you like to? Do you feel like you're trapped here? Or do you even realize that the time of what year it is right now?
I'm going to say goodbye to you, but just one last opportunity. Just a word of goodbye. Now, we've had a wonderful time here, and we wish you a good night. And above all, if this is what makes you happy to remain a part of the house, then Then good for you.
Okay, since we're trying to keep the drama and the nonsense out of this, let's just take a minute now to see what evidence, if any, came out of the investigation at the Payne house. Evidence. The one thing that investigators love to get and skeptics love to pull apart. If you hang out in a place like the Payne house long enough, you are bound to hear unexplainable noises. It's going to take a group like Rise Up and a professional like Ken DaCosta to know how to separate settling noises from potential paranormal experiences.
Do you remember what it was like to have a house full of people or have family during the holidays? Those times are almost here again.
This potential EVP was one of 5 that we heard when we were editing this program. It sounds like a breath or a voice saying something that we can't make out.
Do you remember what it was like to have a house full of people or have family during the holidays? Those times are almost here again.
The next one we heard was a breath.
I just wanted to see the difference between, what the rafters look.
Later, we heard a different breath. Do you remember when Ken said that he thought he heard footsteps? So did our camera.
Footsteps.
The last piece of potential evidence that we heard was a high-toned noise that Rise Up mentioned during the investigation.
Mark audio there.
You heard that too?
Yeah, I heard something. It wasn't the car. It was almost like a high pitch.
We sent our findings to Ken and Rise Up so that they could listen and, using their special audio equipment, see what they thought. Ken said that while he can't dismiss these as unusual, he also can't discount the possibility of feet shuffling or maybe even something natural going on.
Sarah, we love little girls if you want to come out and talk to us.
As we mentioned before, the Payne house has been a home base of sorts for Rise Up. They have had many investigations here. The EVP you just heard was one from a previous investigation that Ken's team found.
Sarah, we love little girls if you want to come out and talk to us.
Some of the female members of Rise Up were trying to talk to a little girl named Sarah. Ken says they can't be sure what the response is. For more on Sarah, you'll have to watch the Reality of Ghosts documentary. Yeah, that was a shameless plug, but I've made peace with it. This is another female voice that Rise Up found. The team was just sitting around quietly when that female voice came out of nowhere. So there you have it, another professional investigation by Rise Up Paranormal. Now let's take a sneak peek at the next investigation site on the Paranormal Truth.
If you were a performer at this theater, could you do something on the stage for us now?
Yeah,
That you, Dave?
that wasn't me. What was that?
I don't know, that was
Hey, like, Cody. Jesus.
Sound like metal or something.
sounded heavy.
When was that? There's nothing over here. There's the glass, the shade, a cup, and our cable.
Did any of the wiring get untaped?
No.
It's all tied up.
It's all time. What the hell was that?
Thanks for watching Rise Up Paranormal's investigation of the Payne House in Coventry, Rhode Island. I'm Dan Ginden, and I've been seeking out the paranormal truth.